Good afternoon into your evening, sports fans. This is Level Up Sports 10, MossBurgh, Moss B, here with the NFL recap of Week 15. And first, I want to start off by saying thank you to all of the subscribers out there. I think I've reached about 70. And, for those watching and for those who've been following, I just greatly appreciate you. You are the reason that I do what I do. I'm gonna continue to come with content and just found another love for something with this sports world. And we're going to get right into it. And the first game that we have up today will be the Baltimore Ravens and the New York Giants. And the Baltimore Ravens came out on top 35-14, a team that I was actually looking at these last few weeks to see how they would do when it comes to these next few weeks. This being one of them, playing against the Giants, kind of a get yourself right game. And they did that above and beyond. We had a little bit of a vintage Lamar Jackson, as we would say. And in the past shows, we spoke a few on the quarterbacks and taking film out of Lamar Jackson's book and how he was beginning to look like a pocket passer more and more later into his career. And he must have heard us because he went out and done vintage Lamar Jackson things, getting a couple of touchdowns both ways. And the thing that I noticed is that the Ravens defense was just flying around on a consistent basis in this game. And it's definitely something to keep an eye on as we finish out these last few weeks and prepare for these playoffs. And the one thing about the Giants is we know that they're a young team rebuilding in many ways, losing a running back in Saquon Barkley and your franchise quarterback in the last few seasons, this season being Daniel Jones. Just the one thing I know is Malik Neighbors is definitely a gem that organization has picked up. And if they find the right pieces to add to that offense around him, as well as some of those defensive players that they have some studs as well. They could be something to reckon with in a few years and give a lot of teams many more challenges in that tough NFC. And we know how that could be as well. Now, on the other hand, the next game we had was a game I think I picked against the Cowboys in this one. Is then when I marked my paper before the game started yesterday, I went ahead and picked the Cowboys for the win. The Cowboys actually came out, played very well in this game. They forced some turnovers in Bryce Young, who haven't really been turning the ball over, I would say, in the last month and a half. He's been playing pretty good. And he still played pretty good, just a different pressure and things that the Dallas Cowboys were coming at him with in this game, I think was a determine a lot when it comes to those interceptions that he thrown. And let's not forget about Cooper Rush, man. He had his best game since becoming a starter, throwing a couple of those touchdown passes and just keeping these Cowboys in a hunt. I don't know. That's what I would say in the NFC. You just don't know what could go on in these next few weeks. He was 18 of 19, 214, and he threw 3 of those touchdowns. Bryce Young had a couple of fumbles to go along with those 2 interceptions as well. So when those things happen, that's kind of tough when it comes to getting the win. And let's not forget about the run game for the Cowboys and Dowdell. He had 149 on 25 touches as well. CeeDee Lamb had 116 yards on 9 catches and a touchdown. And it's just good to see CD getting back to himself. It's been a few tough weeks, even since the Dak Prescott injury. So just a good thing to see the Cowboys get another win in such what's been a tough season, a lot of people would say, for those Dallas Cowboys this year. The next game we have up on the slate. And before I get to explaining a little bit about this game, just want to send well wishes out to the Bows. for Miami and the collision yesterday. Don't really want to speak much more on it. It was just probably one of the craziest things I've seen up until this point, in football. It seemed like it's a normal thing that we talk about, but I just want to send prayers to him, his family, speedy recovery in every way, and that he can actually get back on the field and do what he loves to do. Because we know sometimes when those injuries happen, the pros and the cons. But as we see in Tua, his teammate, I'm sure he'll be with them and pressing on and helping him through his recovery as well. So to that organization also, just well wishes to you, the Bose, and that family also. And in this game, the one thing that, we spoke about last week about this game when we were making our picks was I felt that Houston's secondary would play a major part in this game, knowing what the Miami Dolphins offense, the capabilities of Waddle, Hill, Tua, that running back they have acting as well. Stingley Jr. shut Tariq Hill down, shut him down very big time. And I think that Stingley is one of, I'm going to say, underrated. You really don't hear much about him in the NFL. I've been watching him since he was at LSU, one of the 4 5-star recruits they had in that secondary. I think they brought him in as an athlete at LSU, and he played safety and then went over to corner. Once he played the season at corner, it was lights out. And just hats off to that defense for slowing down an offense that we know could be so potent. And for Tua, this was probably just since getting back the worst game he played. Nothing against, the way he played. It's just that when you're going against a defense as Houston is and how good they are in the secondary, it's just tough to win a game at their place and come out on top, knowing how these next few weeks are going to be and trying to get in positioning for those playoffs as well. The next game we have up on the slate is the Washington Commanders, and we had the New Orleans Saints. And in this one here, I thought that Washington got out to a great start. Daniels looking like himself after a few tough games and just kind of looking somewhat of a rookie, still figuring things out, but we know that's not what he is. He is a rookie, but he's not figuring things out. It's just one of those slumps and, things you go through. So this was his best game since, even though the Saints were able to come back, and a failed 2-point conversion, prevented them from winning his games. Daniel had a couple touchdowns on the ground and through the air, and that run game with Robinson Jr. is looking like it's getting itself back on track. And the Commanders were actually outplayed in the second half by the New Orleans Saints. And the thing about the Saints is they play tough games, as we see. And with a lot of teams, as we speak on many times, is the fact that they're that close to, competing and even elevating to playoff, contenders and things like that in these next few years. And the Saints team is one of them. They've had quite a few injuries, different star players and different transitions and acquisitions, moving to other teams. So I'm going to just remember the New Orleans Saints, the Carolina Panthers is a team, the New England Patriots, a few of those teams that we speak about and getting themselves back in playoff forms in these next few years. But it's definitely a good win for Washington to keep track of those Eagles in that NFC East and stay at that 4 or 5 seed in that NFC for the playoffs. Our next game we have up, the Cleveland Browns. Some call them Brownies. Our man, City League TV, these are his Browns. So I don't really call them Brownies much unless they're going against my Bengals, and I'm going to talk to you about that shortly. In this one, the Chiefs came out and really just performed well, got the lead, maintained the lead. But then again, you have Patrick Mahomes. He went out in this one with an injury. And this is that same ankle. And I've been watching Patrick Mahomes pretty much this whole season, seeing how he plays, even through a little maybe a sack, seeing how he feels or gets up after a sack. And the hits that he's been taking, I noticed when he's getting wrapped up with that ankle. Right, it's not the first time I've seen it. And my question is, how hurt is this ankle that got hurt yesterday in Sunday's game against these Browns? And he did leave early and didn't return. So, with that being said, there's a lot of questions looming when it comes with these Kansas City Chiefs upcoming in these playoffs. And we have WTP Sports Dudes. Appreciate the comment and appreciate you for tuning in. It would be nice to see Washington in the playoffs. I totally agree. And it would remind me of, how we talk about the college football season and different players and what they bring to the game itself. And I think with Jayden Daniels and this Washington team, you'll bring a team to the playoffs that have nothing to lose. They want to prove everything. And they're not even looking to prove that they're a Super Bowl contender, but they're the type of team that if you give them a shot, they're going to take it, they're going to move, they're going to elevate, and they're going to keep pushing. And with that defense, even though it's young, they have some veterans in positions that make them a stout defense. And I think a force to be reckoned with. If they get in the playoffs, as we spoke on them before, they're a very dangerous team. And if they could get hot at the right time, NFC, you might want to look out, as we just seen another team take a tumble in those games over the weekend, and we'll be getting to that one as well. And he said the Chiefs D holding the Browns to 7 points impressed me. Yes, it definitely did, because I thought the Browns would have came out, and you know how Jameis, 1 week he's good, the other week, and normally he don't go for 2 straight weeks not really performing well. And in this instance, he did. He threw 3 interceptions in this game, and we know how that could be. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, he could throw some, and they could go either way, interceptions or touchdowns. But that is due to the Chiefs' defense. And I've noticed with some of the losses they've had in the secondary that their secondary is growing up pretty fast. And that's something I'm starting to see with a lot of teams and a lot of young players in the secondary throughout the league this year are in certain situations, they're growing up and they're looking like sometimes all pro players. I know that's a big, go from 1 year a rookie to an all pro, but just the way they play at that level and on the way they have to compete for their team, themselves, as well as a contract. And we know how that could be sometimes to keep the ball rolling in their favor as well. And this next game, I think, was a great game. We had the New York Jets, the Jacksonville Jaguars. And in this game, for me, I really didn't have to take much stats. We know what the Jets bring to the table. They're going to give up some points. The Jags are going to try to get everything out of you. They have nothing to lose, but it was the vintage Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams for me. That was what stood out. And it's week 15. It was going to take some time for it to work, but I don't know if this is something that can continue on throughout the rest of the season. And I'm very optimistic. And when I say this, we never know what could happen next year when it comes to the Jets, when it comes to having Aaron Rodgers there as your starting quarterback, or, going into the draft and looking for a QB. So, with those things being said, just a great game from Aaron Rodgers, Devontae Adams, as well as Breece Hall and Sauce. We see you. We definitely see you doing what you do. And the Jags, man, another team. They've lost their quarterback this season. And the teams that lose their quarterback, or if their quarterback lose their receivers, we see it take a little while, maybe a few weeks, maybe a month, to get back to yourself. And when it comes to making some of those big winning game plays, or just getting good wins when they're needed throughout this season. So the next game we have up are the Denver Broncos. And those Denver Broncos were going against the Indianapolis Colts. And in this game, one of the wildest things for me was, and it happened in my boys' game too, was that Taylor, I think the Colts were up at this point 13-7. Colts were up 13-7. And Taylor gets into that end zone, but he forgot something on his way. He forgot the bag. And that bag would have put him up by a couple of touchdowns. And from that point on forward, the game changed. Momentum totally changed. And it was a 24-0 run on the side of Denver and coming out on top 31-13. And, when these type of things happen, that definitely, as you see, could take the air out of you as a player and as a team in a whole. And it definitely took the air out of the stadium, which Denver was not playing in this one. And I think Denver moved to 8-5, maybe 9-5 on the season. And they're definitely a tough team in this AFC. Bo Broncos is what I call them. And when you have a Sean Payton with a new look Drew Brees in this young quarterback class, as we've seen, be, what do you say? What's the word I'm looking for? As the young quarterback class, they compare to a lot of the older quarterbacks. I say Bo Broncos, Sean Payton have him a Drew Brees in a making. And no one's Drew Brees, but understand what I'm saying is he have that type of player in Bo Nix. He's played the 25 games plus, and also is doing great work within that Denver Broncos offense. And WTP Sports Dudes, he said, I'm starting to think the Colts wasted a first-round pick on Richardson. Interesting. I feel the same way. I think the Colts had a shot to get man, I can't read. You got me thinking with this draft class. They had quite a shot to get quite a QBs, and I think Bo Nix is one of them. And they passed up on him too. It just sucks to see that organization knowing that position, what it means to that organization, and the things that can happen from having a great quarterback in Indy. And Richardson, we don't know what you're doing, but you got to show us a little more than what you have been showing us when it comes to this. And then with these Denver Broncos at the Colts, again, Bo Broncos. That's all I can say is Bo Broncos. The next one we have, and I'm going to talk my spit a little bit because, a lot of people felt a certain way. Yeah, I'm talking about this guy, Baker. A lot of people felt a certain way about Baker Mayfield and what he brings to the table. He's this, he's that. Cleveland, Carolina. He was in the sunny cities of LA, and then he went to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after Brady left. They didn't know what was going to happen. Baker is all I know. And it looked like the OU Baker that planted that flag in the middle of the field. And Baker took these Buccaneers on a 40-17 rout of the Los Angeles Chargers. And when you think of Baker Mayfield, his leadership, he's playing without his main targets. And as they get healthy, it's at the right time. Evans, 9 catches, 159 yards, I believe his best game this season. Bucky Irving, 117 on, I think, 14 carries. Baker Mayfield threw 4 touchdowns. You tell me that this Tampa Bay team is not a threat, they better know they are a threat. And if you add these pieces to the puzzle that's hurt, I think they could possibly be a top team in this NFC, competing with the likes of Detroit, Minnesota, Philly. And when you think of Baker Mayfield, you just know he's a baller. He's gonna go out and do whatever it takes to get a win for his team. And I was watching a show and they had spoke about him, and I said, "Man, this is Baker. This is the Baker that I love seeing play, and the Baker that I know and knew even when he got drafted to the NFL." So it's good to see him come along, even with hurt players, be injured, and as they get back, to continue to be great. And he's brought himself to being a leader, not only on the field for the team, but in the locker room for the organization. I mean, it's Baker, Baker, Baker is all I can say. And that's a great win. And I agree with you. You said WTP Sports Dudes, you said a healthy Tampa Bay is tough on anybody. I agree, man, because they flying around defensively. They got a mean secondary. They hit hard. And we know what they're going to do offensively. They're going to keep coming at you. Evans is one of the most prolific wide receivers ever to play the game. Future Hall of Famer, if you ask me. I mean, this is what, going on season number 14, 1,000 yards. And he was hurt majority of the season, so got to give respect due. So with that being said, remember, Baker Mayfield and them Tampa Bay Bucks is going to be a force to reckon with. Now, this next game, we're going to chop it up about a little bit. Chop it up a little bit, maybe a lot. Depends on you. But for me, I'm going to say a lot because Josh Allen, last week, I said it was in the race. I said it was between Josh Allen and Jared Goff. Excuse me. And I really didn't pay too much attention to the schedule, you know. And boom, Buffalo and Detroit pops up on the schedule. Who do you think I picked? Josh Allen. That's who I went with because he was my MVP. And I said it was that close, even after last week's loss with 3 touchdowns rushing and 3 touchdowns passing. So he must have heard me because this week he went ahead, came on in and got a couple more both ways, rushing and passing. And 362, 68 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns total. Jared Goff balled out. He threw for over 400, almost 500 with 5 touchdowns. And he found Amani St. Brown. He found Laporta. But when you think about this Josh Allen, he don't just do it through the air. He do it with them legs. You know, it's an old saying. They say Pat and Turner call, you know, pat them feet, turn them corners. And I don't know what it is about Josh Allen's feet, but I'm going to have to find a little name for it because he be definitely booking and he be moving them feet. And I think that's just a difference maker for this Buffalo team, man. You got a Buffalo team that's young and they've seen this Buffalo team in the past years, you know, watching them, I'm sure, in college film, possibly some even high school film. And I know when they come, they know what they're getting in their quarterback. And when you have a quarterback that puts himself on the line week in, week out, he's going to do whatever it takes to win. That makes you, as a player, want to get out there and do the same thing week in and week out. And that's what we're seeing in this in this Buffalo team. And their defense, in this type of game, you're going to give up points. We know Buffalo, Detroit, it's going to be about 60, probably about 60, 70 points. We know that now because games are starting to increase on the points and you have to make key stops at certain times of the game. And WTP Sports Dude said Buffalo will be in the Super Bowl. I like your thoughts on that, WTP Sports Dudes. I'm going to say this real quick. If we get in on a wild card, we're going to get to that Super Bowl. But I do like this pick in Buffalo because after this game, they increase on my charts, and I put them right below my Cincinnati Bengals in that Super Bowl. But I do agree with you on that one, with Buffalo being the team to beat. I feel like in the AFC right now, I think Buffalo is the team to beat. You know, you've beat Kansas City, you've beat Detroit, you've beat the top two teams in the NFL. Philly's next. You know, I don't know if they have them on the schedule. I believe they don't, but you know, you have quite a few teams that still left, and some great games played. And as we speak about one of those teams, but let me get back to this Buffalo real quick. They snapped that 11-game win streak. They snapped the 11-game win streak. Then you got no feet Mac Hollins, that is. No sock, no shoe, it don't matter. He gonna ball or two. The onside kick that he got and almost took it to the house. Starting to see it. I watched a high school highlight over the weekend, and I seen where a kid timed it, rushed the quarterback. They was running the pitch, and he took the pitch and took it to the house. So don't be surprised if you see one of these onside kicks get took to the house in the same way like that. And I'm gonna just say hats off to Josh Allen. MVP season, you balling, the Bills is balling. You got one of my boys, Keon Coleman, who had a nasty guy for 64 yards, man. We appreciate you, Josh Allen, and what you are doing down there in Buffalo. Now, in this next game, I wish I had my main man in here, one of the guys, you know, we call him Parlay Poe, and we know he's laying low. It was a rough game, you know, and I didn't really pick for this Pittsburgh Philly game because I thought it was just going to be exactly what it was. It was going to be a hard fought game. And with Pittsburgh having a few injuries, when you have injuries and Phillies, you know, they got all men on deck, they're going to be a tough team to beat, even if you full strength, because the defense in this one, I feel like for Philly was the difference maker. When I say they stymied the run game, forced a couple fumbles on Pittsburgh's behalf, Pittsburgh forced a couple on Philly's behalf, but I think Philly got the best out of it because when they forced those fumbles, they got some points off of those turnovers. And when you have receivers and Smith, not one, but Smith times two, and they both getting over 100 and a touchdown, I think that's hard to stop for any team. My Bengals had a tough task doing it. One of the Smiths got loose, then the other got loose. So it's a tough task to deal with in this Philly team. And we know what Saquon do. He didn't have the biggest game, but he kept the ball moving. And when you have Saquon, you got to key into him. So having him, that makes a difference for Philly. And WTP Sports Dude said, Philly sent the message. I totally agree. And for me, you know, Philly is a team, like you think Philly, Baltimore, let's say you can put Buffalo in there. You can put Pittsburgh in there. And even the Tampa Bay and Minnesota. You know, these teams at this point with a game like these that they're playing, you kind of want to see what kind of message they send. Are they going to be stout in what they do, what their strengths are, what are their weaknesses? Are their weaknesses becoming strengths at this point? And I think within the Eagles, there's no weakness except themselves. And I think this Eagles team, man, is definitely a tough team, man. I've definitely had my thoughts about them, and each week they keep stepping up and proving me wrong. And this was a big win. I fell for Philly, and I'm going to go ahead, as you said, Buffalo getting to the Super Bowl. I'm going to say on that NFC side, I'm going to take them Philadelphia Eagles. And I know how we spoke about the Commanders. I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles when it comes to the NFC, coming out of that NFC. And the next game that we have to talk about was, let me get that in this chat for y'all real quick. is the New England Patriots and the Arizona Cardinals. And in this game, I picked the Patriots. I wasn't for sure what they would be doing with the Maserati, not Marv, with the Maserati. That's what I really talked to him for, and that's what I call him, is the Maserati. They didn't get them keys going. You got McBride, nothing against his talent. You targeting McBride so much. Harrison not getting his touches, but the Cards came out with a big win. And with this win, I put the Cardinals and kept them in that playoff position to get in them playoffs in that NFC. And over this weekend, there was a lot of games that were played in the NFC to make a lot of the playoff picture beginning to get a little more clear. The Cardinals, they just got to continue to win. Tampa Bay has moved up to the third spot, right up under Detroit and Philly, I believe, and they have that, division balance, how that goes, which will take them up to that third spot. And that's just a difference maker. But back to this game with these Cardinals, I did see a lot with this offense that we talk about in the height of Kyler Murray. Is that something that the Cardinals are going to look towards in their future? If they don't crack the playoffs, if they do crack the playoffs, we don't know yet. But something to look at is that quarterback and how they can get Marvin Harrison the ball. And New England, another team that's young, that I speak on a lot, and how these young teams can definitely be teams that will be a force in a few years. This is one of them. Remember, we always talk about these things and we try to bring them to you first, but we know there's so many different people out there talking sports, but the New England Patriots will definitely be one to watch in a few years. They will be definitely giving people problems. And last but not least, on the tune of two straight. I know WTP Sports Deuce is in here watching. We had our showdown this week. It was the Tennessee Titans. And hold on before I get right back into that, WTP Sports Deuce said the Cards are the hardest teams to figure out. They are. It's like, I know we speak of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, but it's like, are they boiling hot or are they lukewarm? That's what you're trying to figure out when you're watching these Cardinals, because you just don't know what you're gonna get week in, week out. But they definitely been playing some football, and one of the hottest teams, I would say, in the last month and a half, maybe one loss, if I'm not mistaken. So the next one, last but not least, was WTP Sports Dudes, Tennessee Titans, going at it with Level Up Sports 10, MossBurgh, Cincinnati Bengals. And in this game, it was a very good game. It had a lot of turnovers, 10 of them to be exact. And in this one, WTP Sports Dude said his guy, Will Levis, needs to stay on the bench. I agree. I know how you feel. You call him Bum Levis. I know how you feeling, especially after yesterday's game. They benched him after the third interception, and I think that was the one that we took to the house. And me personally, I really wasn't even watching the offense in this game. I was so looked and locked in on the defense. And defensively, I was impressed. And from winning last week, I told myself, I said the defense stepped up. They made big stops on big downs to get us to win. And this week, we played fast. We was moving around, within the snap, I would say, disguising so many different things, and we forced turnovers. Cornerbacks played great. Cam Taylor, Britt, Nelson, Stone got him an interception. So the secondary is starting to make a wave of not giving up that big play. And regardless of who you play, you're all professionals. If you let someone get past you, they will catch the ball. And not only that, I was about to get to you on that. Our defense on the run game, we definitely stopped Pollard. And that first drive, he was getting loose with the short field. And I said to myself, because I wasn't in front of the TV right away, I said, man, if we don't stop this run game, this is going to be a long night. They must have heard my thoughts because with that long field, they definitely came in disguising a few things and blitz. And I made a difference. And when you able to stop the run game, you can pin your ears back and kind of disguise things and have fun at that point. That's where the interception is going to come. You can force those turnovers, and great things can happen, as seen with the defense in this game. And, for me, I just have great hopes that we can continue, that we will continue this streak to try to get a position in this AFC playoff. I know it's far-fetched, with the Chargers having a couple soft games coming up, and I say they soft because some people expect them to already win those games or pick them to win, but that's why they play the game. So we need all that help in Who Dey Nation, Jungle Nation, where we at in Cincinnati to try to get in these playoffs, because I feel if we get the wild card, I feel like we can make some things happen by the way our offense plays, but the way our defense has been playing and playing a lot better. And we do have the sack leader and Trey Hendrickson. If he get going, along with Hubbard on the other end, along with Gathers in the middle, along with a few other guys, Wilson, and that secondary start making strides and moves even more, I think things could happen, similar to when we was on our way to LA. So I think we'll be on our way to New Orleans if we get in. And with that being said, just looking at the week that we have remaining, we got a couple of Monday night football games coming up tonight. And you got Chicago at Minnesota. Minnesota's favored by 7, and 43.5 is the over and under. And for me, Chicago at Minnesota +7, -7, over and under 43.5. Minnesota, WTP Sports dude said he's going with Minnesota. I second that. I'm taking Minnesota too. And if you're watching, a lot of people, come across, they always ask us about picks. If y'all was watching this when we came in and we talked about it the other day, me and the main man, Parlay Poe, we told y'all, it's Minnesota. It's Minnesota. It's Minnesota. You see the pick. Go ahead and grab that pick in your FanDuel pocket, put it in your wallet, however you do. And then we told y'all about that Baltimore Ravens pick. When we talk picks, I won't forget about what you asked me about or what you talked about. Baltimore Ravens was favored 14.5, and we told y'all about that one. And the over and under we weren't for sure about, but we said just go ahead, get it, because Baltimore got you some money hopefully this weekend. And with this one, hopefully the Vikings can get you some bread too tonight. So go ahead and put that little $10 on the Vikings for that +7 at home against them Chicago Bears. Now, the over and under is on you. I ain't going to talk to you about that, but definitely get them Vikings on that 7 and the win. And then the next one that we have up will be those Atlanta Falcons against the Raiders. That's in Vegas now. And they got Atlanta favored by 5, and the over and under is 44.5. Whew. My pops is a Raiders fan, and man, I feel bad sometimes that I don't be picking my pops Raiders, but he know where we stand. But with these Raiders, I just don't know. And we call that man in Atlanta Captain Kirk. And I said he ain't coming to Vegas to party. He coming to Vegas to get a dub so he could keep his Falcons in that playoff hunt. So I'm going with Atlanta in this one. And I got Atlanta covering, and I'm going to go ahead and take Atlanta on the all to cover as well. But John get going, as WTP Sports said. Sports Dude said, he said, but John gets 100. I agree with you. We're going to say 100 for Bijan, 250 for Captain Kirk. Put your bets in. Atlanta get the 5, and Atlanta goes over. So, man, we just gave y'all parlay. I don't even know. We just gave y'all a little quick little parlay. In between all that, it's a little parlay. You pick it, fix it how you want to. But we just gave you a parlay with the 2 dubs, one for the Vikings, one for the Atlanta Falcons, and that Vikings 43.5, that's on you. Atlanta 44.5, I'm going to take it because these are 2 QBs, and Vegas, that's going to go, and they're going to rumble for that 44 points. But with that being said, and make sure you put your 100 on Bijan too, because you're going to get them yards when it comes to that running. And with that being said, just over the few months, man, we've definitely been going crazy with the videos, and we appreciate everything that everyone's doing when it comes to watching us, subscribing to us, liking our videos, commenting. So the more you do that, we appreciate it. And we're going to continue to come with great content, keep things up to date and knowledgeable. Make sure you check our shorts, check all the different videos that we put out. We just getting everything going on a regular as well. And we just going to keep bringing you great content. And this is your man, Moss B, from Level Up Sports 10, which is myself, my tag that I use, and just something else to know. If you have an athlete out there, male, female, anything you do when it comes to sports, get with me, get with us, myself, WTP Sports Dudes, Zen Master Zay, Parlay Poe, City League TV, ask somebody, get with us. We all talk, and we trying to just bring any and everything to you. Live streams on the high school games, we doing that as well. So make sure you get with us. We'll come to you in your location and try to give you the best of what we do for you to keep everything going in a great light, in a great way. And once again, man, just want to thank all my subscribers for tuning in. For those that's always tuning in, make sure you stay tuned in, because you never know. Your notifications is on that ring. Make sure you tap that bell button too. Keep them notifications on, because you just don't know. We might do a live pop in on the game tonight. Might do a post game. You just don't know what's going to happen here at Level Up Sports 10. But it's all going to be all the great knowledge that we getting to feed to you in the sports world. But once again, appreciate you all joining me and tuning in. Other than that, man, we got the 5 o'clock news coming up for y'all. So I'm sure y'all going to tune in to that. But make sure when y'all's notifications come, y'all tune in to us. Like, subscribe, comment on the video. And I appreciate you all, man. Like and subscribe as well. Thanks a lot, WTP Sports Dudes. As he said, make sure y'all peace, like, and subscribe. And as we always say, peace, much love. We out.